Okay, hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain a new chapter, which is chapter 6, sexual reproductions in flowering plants. So having said the sexual reproduction, meaning it will involve a male and female structure in flowering plants. So we start with 6.1, the structure of flower. Okay, so before we're going to discuss or we're going to look at the structure of flower, let me introduce to you two terms that involve in this chapter. All right, the first term is angiosperms. What is angiosperm? Angiosperm is actually a flowering plant. So sometimes instead of saying flowering plants, some textbook refer it as angiosperm, right? And then the second term is gymnosperms. So for gymnosperm is non-flowering plants. These are the two terms that is related to this topic. All right. So we go to the structure of flower. So here we can see in one flower we can find both female and male structure. All right. These are called as hermaphrodite, meaning it's a bisexual flower. It has this both male and female structure in one flower. Okay, let me use laser point first. Okay, so here this is the whole flower itself, and then you can see there's a 11 elements in the elements of flowers. We can see here petal. Petal is the most attractive and bright colors of in the flower. That is a petal. Petal itself to attract the insects and also animals, right? And where we use this flower as decoration, so we look at the petals, the color of the petals, right? So I want to show you which one is a female and male structure. All right, notice that this blue color here, this whole thing here is a carpel. Carpel is a female organs or female parts in the flower. So this carpel consists of, it has a stigma at the top here, and then down below we can see a style. Style is to hold this stigma, and then we go deeper here, we can find an ovary. Ovary is an organ. Okay, ovary is an organ. This is the same name as human female reproductive organ, ovary, but this time you need to remember it as a carpel, whereas carpel has a stigma, ovary, stigma, style, and ovary. All right, this is female structure. How about male? Okay, male structure in flower is, we call it a stamen. Stamen. Stamen has anther. You can see a red color here. This is anther. And then filament. Filament is the structure that holds the anther. All right, and then the rest of it is there. We have sepal and stem and receptacle. Okay, in our textbook, this stem here is represented as peduncle. Peduncle. All right. So you get the point. Now you know what is the female structure, carpel, stigma, style, ovary. What is the male structure, stamen, anther, and filament. All right. So in this slide, I just want to show you that, okay, before that, in the previous slide, this is a general structure of flowers. But as you know that in real life, flower has many kind of shape and arrangement. All right. So here you can see there's this is the petal, of course. This is the bright color yellow, and carpel. Okay, carpel produce ovules. Okay, carpel is a female. Again, is a female structure. It has what? It has stigma, style, and ovary, and that ovary contain ovules, right? What is ovules? Ovule is a female gamete. Female gamete, in plants, we call it female gametophytes. Okay? While for stamen, so just now we know stamen is a male structure. It produces pollen grain. Okay, what is pollen grain? Pollen grain is a male gametophyte. So let's say we want to compare this with human male gametes in human. In human, for male gametes, we call it as sperm. While in female, in human, the gamete we call it as ovum, right? But in plants, male gametophyte or male gamete, we call it pollen grain. While in gamete, female gamete in plants, we call it ovule, or actually we call it as embryo sac. Embryo sac. Okay. In the next slide, we're going to discuss it more. All right. So here's the familiar flower. I can see there's, as a Malaysian, we know this is our national flower. With this is bunga raya. This is hibiscus. Scientific name is hibiscus bunga raya. Okay, so as we zoom in here, this red color here is a stigma. Red color here is a stigma. And down here that holds the stigma is style. Okay, style. And then down below you can find an ovary. Okay, so this part is actually a female structure. Alright, so how about this yellow one? So this yellow color here is actually an anther. Anther. And of course that holds the anther is filament. All right, and then you can see here this grain here, this on the top of the anther we can find a pollen grain. All right, so pollen grain is a pollen grain is a male gametophyte in plants, while in ovary we can find ovule. Ovule is a female gametophyte. Okay, so there's another picture that shows you the sections when we cut this bunga raya. We can see this is a longitudinal section. We cut it this way. We can find there is a stigma over there, style, and then below we have ovary, that is a carpel, the female reproductive organs for plants. And then we can see stamen here. Okay, you can see stamen. The yellow color is anther, down below is a filament. Okay, as we zoom in this ovary, actually you can see there's ovule. One is in English. Okay, this is singular and plural. One we call it ovule, but when there's a many ovule we call ovulus. Okay, there's a tiny round shape here is ovule. Okay, all right, so this is the comparison between male and female. When we say compare, we need to find the similarities and the differences. We start with the similarities between these male and female flower parts. Both produce gametes. Okay, both produce gametes. Gametes means reproductive cell. Gamete means reproductive cell. Both produce reproductive cell, or both produce gametes, and both are located at the flower's organ. All right. So differences for male flower part consists of stamen, and female consists of carpel. It has for male it has filament and anther. Of course, the female has a stigma, style, and ovary. Male flower pod produce pollen grains. Pollen grains in male. While in female, flower pod produce embryo sac. Okay, what is embryo sac? So you see, I just show you this picture here. Within the ovary, we can find an ovule. So each of these ovule is embryo sac. Embryo sac. Okay. Okay. Now male flower pod. The last one is in male flower pods is projecting out from the base of ovary, while female flower pod is located in the middle part of the flower. Okay, that's are the comparisons. So now you know, as a conclusion for this 6.1, you know there's a two parts of flowers. There's a male and females, and you know the structure. All right. Now we go to 6.2. I break down this chapter, this subtopic 6.2. Actually, 6.2 is discussing about the development of pollen grains and embryo sac. But I break down this subtopic into two. We start with explain with start with the development of pollen grain first. All right. Bear in mind, pollen grains means a male gametophytes. All right. Grain itself macam berpasir-pasir grains kan. So as you can see here in this picture, this is a busy bee. This is a busy bee. One bee here. It shows you there's a dot, yellow dot, meaning that this pollen grain has stick onto this bee body. Body ka dan kepala dia kan macam tu lah. So the roles of this bee is to disperse the pollen grain. Okay, dia tolong disperse, dia tolong sebarkan pollen grain ni, so that this pollen grain will go to the female part, female structure. Okay. Dan nanti kita akan discuss lebih detail tentang itu. Tapi for now, let's look how this pollen grain develop. Okay, nampak ni gambar ni? Siapa? Okay, so yang ini gambar ni. This is the pollen grain dengan dia punya filament. So yang ini kita dalam next slide. In the next slide, there's a cut off. Okay, nanti yang ini cut off macam ni, alright? Let's see next slide. Okay, so here is the sequence of development, stage of development in pollen grain. We start with the first one here. Okay, as you can see, there's a filament and also anther. Okay, there's a filament and anther. So both this is actually made the stamen, right? So in this anther, bila kita cut their horizontal section, you can see 4 lobe. Ni lah lobe ni. Okay, lobe yang ini. And then kita zoom in. Okay, ini semakin lama semakin kita zoom. Okay, as we go along the process, we keep on zooming in. What happened inside there? Okay, so inside the anther, when we zoom in, we can find a pollen sac. Bukan pollen grain dulu lah, pollen sac. Sac ni kantung. Alright, so you can see this pollen sac here. Kantung, maksudnya kantung lah. Kantung ni maksudnya macam bag, macam tempat. Tempat ada pollen. Pollen sac. And inside this pollen sac, we can find a micro mother cells. Microspore mother cell. Okay, and we zoom in. This microspore mother cell actually is an haploid cell. This is actually a my bad. Microspore mother cell is a diploid diploid cell. And then, as you know, as we discussed, as we had already learned in cell division, in cell division, only gamete cell will undergo the meiosis. Why is that? It's because to maintain the number of cell. So from diploid, it will become haploid. Okay, diploid become haploid, and in the process of meiosis, from one cell, it will get 4 daughter cell. 4 daughter cell. Alright, so this microspore mother cell undergo meiosis process and will produce 4 daughter cell. Now it called tetrad. Sorry. So tetrad ni maksudnya 4 lah. Tetrad ni dia lebih general. Tetrad ni melambangkan bilangan kan. Kalau 2 di or duo or bi macam tu kan. Maksudnya 2. So kalau 3 tri. So kalau 4 quadro ataupun tetrad. So tetrad, from 1 it produce tetrad, and each of these cell here in tetrad, it will undergo mitosis. Different lah. Sebelum ni dia jadi meiosis dulu, barulah dia jadi and then it will undergo mitosis. Okay, when this cell undergo mitosis, it will produce 2 cells. However, it will produce significantly a tube nucleus and generative nucleus. Okay, in one cell, there is a 2 nucleus here. What is that? Tube nucleus, the larger one is a tube nucleus, and then the much simpler and smaller, it is a generative nucleus. So each of these is a pollen grain. Setiap satu nila yang kita panggil pollen grain. Boleh? So actually starting there, kalau kamu mau explain, it starts from microspore. This microspore undergo meiosis and form tetrad. So this tetrad undergo mitosis and will produce a pollen grain, which each of these pollen grain has a tube nucleus and generative nucleus. Alright, so that's all for male gametophytes. That is how the stages of development, of pollen grain. Right. So now for development of embryo sac. This is happening in female parts of the plants. Alright. So remember this, I show you, this is an ovule. This is ovary, and inside the ovary we can find an ovule. Sorry. So this slide here, I just want to show you which one is embryo sac. Alright, remember stigma, style, ovary, and inside the ovary we have ovule. Ovule is various in numbers. In different flower has different numbers of ovule. Ada yang banyak, ada yang satu saja, ada yang sedikit. This ovule lah yang tengok ni, dia zoom ini satu ni. Let's say for this picture, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ovules. Alright, and then each of these ovules, we call it as embryo sac. Embryo sac. So next time when it says development of embryo sac, you know that bila kita dia sebenarnya adalah female gametophyte. Alright. Now, just now the starting for pollen grain, it starts with microspore mother cell. Okay? Itu tadi kalau pollen grain. Tapi kalau embryo sac, it starts with megaspore. Why is that? If mega means large, micro means kecil. Tapi itulah nama dia, mega and micro. Alright? So this megaspore sama juga macam microspore. They both undergo meiosis. meiosis. So from diploid cell undergo meiosis, it will produce 4 haploid cell. 4 haploid cell. Okay. If you don't have any idea what is that, meiosis, mitosis, meaning that you need to revise back. You need to look back this chapter 6 on Form 4 punya syllabus. Okay. So, let's continue. From one megaspore undergo meiosis, it will produce 4, but only one will continue to grow. Only one. How about the other 3? 3 cells will degenerate. Dia akan degenerate, merosot. Okay, dia tidak akan ada function, dia akan merosot. Macam tu je. Only one will continue to grow. Okay, so this megaspore continue to grow, so this already we can call it as a embryo sac sudah. Embryo sac yang tunggal satu saja kan yang sambung continue to grow, we can call it as a haploid embryo sac. Okay, this embryo sac will undergo mitosis 3 times. 3 times berbanding dengan pollen grain tadi. Selepas dia that pollen grain tadi masa microspore dia meiosis, lepas tu mitosis, terus jadi pollen grain kan. Tapi this embryo sac this megaspore undergo meiosis 1 time and then undergo mitosis 3 times. Why is that? It is in order to produce 8 cell, 8 nucleus. Okay, kita tengok sini. So ini embryo sac kantung. So bukan kantung yang membahagia di dalam ni. Alright, so this is the parent cell. Bila undergo mitosis kan kalau dia cell division of mitosis, the final product of the daughter cell will become 2. So 1 jadi 2. Itu mitosis yang pertama. So the second mitosis, each of these will mitosis lagi. Maksudnya 1 dia jadi 2 sini. Then this one pun mitosis jadi 2. So you will get 4. Okay, from 1 to 4. Baru 2 kali mitosis kan. Now it needs to mitosis 1 more time because it needs to mitosis for 3 times. So the last one sama juga. So ini bila 4 darab 2 lah kan. Setiap kali dia membahagi 2. So times 2. 1 times 2 jadi 2. 2 times 2 jadi 4. 4 times 2 jadi 8. Okay, but at this time, this cell will differentiate, this nucleus will differentiate and arrange themselves. Kamu tengok sini, actually dia sudah jadi daripada 4 sepatutnya jadi 8. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Betul, ada 8. Tapi kamu tengok arrangement dia sudah tersusun. Differentiate sudah. Because there's a function. There's a function each of them. Alright. So you can see 3 will be at the pola here, at the top here. Okay, and then 3 is at the bottom here. But this at the bottom here, in the middle, there must be in the middle, okay? In the middle is, bukan middle yang tengah-tengah ni, ini at the bottom. 3 ni kan, tapi kan ada tengah-tengah macam ni, okay. This is our ovum. This is our egg cell. Alright? This is embryo sac. Dalam dia tu, to be exact or to be specific, this is our ovum. Ovum. Alright? So how about left and right? Left, right tu, itu adalah synergid cell. Di tengah-tengah ni adalah pola nuclei. Di atas ni adalah antipodal. Maksudnya dalam 88 sel ni, only one is actually the actual female gamete. Yang lain tu ada nama dia. Alright. Alright, okay? So this this is what we call a mature embryo sac. So that's all for, I think that's all for the explanation for this video. So to conclude what we had learned today, we had learned about the structure of plants and what the structure of plants, I mean the structure of flower. We know there's a female and male, and then we know there's a pollen grain and embryo sac. Okay, so thank you very much. If you have any question, you may ask me in a group, in our WhatsApp group. Thank you very much.